March 2018, America fell in love with Mason Ramsey, and it was the summer of Walmart Boy. He was about 12 years old at the time, which was pretty precious.
She's got that kind of loving, lot of love to hear when she comes to sweet.
A record deal followed, a top 5 single, a tour, an album. He even appeared on a remix of Old Town Road, the Lil Nas X song. Yep, life was sweet.
Now life is a little bit more tangy.
Okay, Billy, explain.
Mason began a hiatus after his 2019 tour and more or less disappeared until he turned up at another popular chain store.
I knew it, I was holding on the doors, holding your hand.
He's working at Subway?
Listen, it's tempting to say his star crashed, but I think he just decided to be a teenager. He's like 15 years old now, and his voice has changed, as you can tell here.
I'm just gonna give you a little sneak peek of what's coming your way for something next spring. Yodelee, yodelee, yodelee.
Mason is no longer a part of Big Loud Records, although his website still lists him as with Atlantic Records. So we'll call Mason Ramsey, aka Walmart Boy, gone, but not forever.
I'm expecting big things. You know that kid is gonna end up on The Voice someday.
I'm Addison Aker, and he's Billy Dukes. Tap that thumbs up button if only want to anonymously admit you loved that kid. This video is going to get you caught up on the 80s hit makers like Bobbie Mandrell and Ricky Van Shelton, and more contemporary hit makers like Cagle, Jessica Andrews, Cledus T. Judd, who has a wild story.
Sometimes country artists just flat out disappear. In fact, we'll get to one that no one has laid eyes on in years. But first, another contemporary mystery.
Has Billy Currington gone missing?
He has. Here is his last tweet, and here is his last post on Instagram. You notice the dates. His last radio hit was this song from 2016. And his last album got less promotion than that sandwich Mason Ramsey was working on. It was called Details, and it's about as country as a meatball.
We can confirm Billy is alive, as he played a few shows in 2022, but at 48 years old, he might be pulling a Cagle.
Man, I haven't thought about him in years. Go for it.
In November 2015, Cagle said he's going home. While he never said retirement, he pretty much said retirement.
This was stunning, as Chris was a decent hitmaker for a full decade with 5 or 6 top 10 singles. What Kinda Gone is a radio staple.
Taste of Country reported this story, and Chris didn't really appreciate it. He replied to our tweet sharing the news about 5 times, but did confirm retirement. The internet suggests he now lives near Houston.
I have one that's even more mysterious. Ricky Van Shelton. He was a huge artist in the late 80s and 90s and had 12 #1 hits, including this song.
But it's been a long, long time.
In 1989, he was the CMA Male Vocalist of the Year. Then Ricky just quit. No notice, no warning, he just quit.
Right. In May 2006, he wrote a letter announcing that he'd asked to be released from his recording obligations and that he was headed home to Virginia. The reason is family and missing too many of life's precious moments.
Ricky would only be 70 years old right now, but he doesn't even operate a website any longer. And yes, you can bet he is not on social media. That man just vanished.
I mean, if you've seen him, let us know in the comments section. That brings us to today's conversation starter. Do artists owe us an explanation? I mean, we go all in on their music and their lives, and then they just vanish. It hurts.
What do you think? Comment below, and while you're there, tap that subscribe button for more great country lists. The biggest country disappearance of all time is next.
We covered this quite a bit, but in 1982, Bobbie Gentry walked away from the ACM Awards and out of our lives.
Literally, no one in country music has heard from her since. For 40 years, she's vanished and stayed that way despite some aggressive attempts to find her.
Totally get it if you don't know the name, but Bobbie was a big crossover act in the 60s and 70s, and she had a very popular Las Vegas show. She's known for an all-timer called Ode to Billy Joe, and this song.
Food or rent, to say the least, we were hard pressed. Then mom spent every last penny we had.
Of course, Reba would record that song years later. The funny thing about that, she couldn't even get in touch with her.
Nope. She told Taste of Country that she tried to track Bobbie down, but never even got a postcard recognizing her effort. That's just cold.
Another classic country artist that just vanished was Bobbie Mandrell.
I remember when no one was looking, I was putting peanuts in my coal.
Like Bobbie, we have entire videos dedicated to her disappearance in our Secret History of Country Music series. Find the links in the corner and the description.
Barbara still turns up from time to time in Nashville, but after a 1997 tour, she sold all of her instruments and retired. There are a lot of theories as to why, but the bottom line was family, specifically a teenage son.
And she was 50 and probably recognized she had hit #1 for the last time. Totally fair. Still, I know I'm not alone in being amazed by her talents. Give this video a thumbs up if you agree.
A few quick hitters. Jessica Andrews had a big hit with Who I Am in 2000 and stuck around for another decade, but she's a mom now and even deleted her social accounts, so she's just done.
Charley McClain had a hit with this familiar song. She retired in the early 90s and is said to live in rural West Tennessee.
I have Faith Hill and Jamey Johnson on here, but neither really disappeared. They just haven't released music in a long time. Too long, which makes it kind of ironic when Jamey Johnson yells at radio stations for not playing his music in 2022. It's like, dude, push record on something.
Another video, Billy. Another video. American Idol winner Trent Harmon also disappeared.
He did, but even though his Twitter account is gone, he's been playing shows and he's been pretty active on Instagram. If I'm being honest, I just don't think the guy is hungry for it.
One more, this guy.
Yeah, I was always a lazy one, a Southern Californian, but I've got some kinfolk on the Mason-Dixon line.
That's my friend Cledus T. Judd. In 2018, I asked one question, and he was soon bawling his eyes out. He retired from the music industry in 2015.
This was because he wanted to take care of his daughter in Kentucky. In fact, he left a $2 million contract on the table to be with her. He was a very popular morning radio DJ in Tampa at the time.
In 2018, he decided to make a comeback, and it was then he came clean about his previous suicide attempts, homelessness, and a whole lot more. I'm not kidding, the dude has a wild, wild story.
Links to it all in the corner of the description section of this video. He's a pretty good follow on confidence. It's a mix of humility and confidence, sometimes at the same time.
I used to have a tour bus. Now I'm laid down in the front seat of a Dodge Journey. But it ain't what you pull up in, it's what you pull out with. And I'm still gonna get a standing ovation tonight, bet you.
I'm Billy Dukes.
And I'm Addison Hager. Thanks for watching, and as always, thanks for subscribing.